Don't you love a good deal? I totally do. Looking at home prices, it's natural to think that buying a home in foreclosure is just the deal you're looking for. But is it really? We'll tackle that topic, along with an update on Seacoast area housing inventory and why millionaires say real estate is still one of the best investments you can make, all on today's episode of Cut to the Chase.
Welcome to Cut to the Chase with Jen and Dan. My name is Dan Ferullo and my co-host is Jennifer Freed. Good afternoon and episode 18 today.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We're super happy to have you here. I just want to say at the beginning of the episode today, because I know we always say it at the end and I wonder if some people don't always make it to the end, but if you like this podcast, please give us a review. Or even if you don't like this podcast, please give us a review on iTunes, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. So just wanted to put that out there at the beginning.
Yeah, comments, DMs, we love all of it, so keep reaching out.
Yeah, we would love to hear your comments on the articles and just kind of hearing what you're thinking so that we can engage with you. So, jumping right into the articles today, right, Jen?
Foreclosure. Everybody thinks they're going to save money. Save money.
And that can sometimes happen, but not always. All right, so this first article is a Business Insider article. I bought a foreclosed home for $170,000, and there are 4 things that I would tell anyone who's thinking of doing the same. So this couple, they actually purchased a foreclosed property in rural New Hampshire, and the couple things that they noticed throughout their process, and they were kind of sharing with Business Insider, and it's super valuable information because we work with a lot of buyers who they see the price of the foreclosed property and they're like, oh wow, this is really great.
Or they get frustrated. So they've been shopping and maybe their offers have been beaten out, or they haven't been able to find something in their price range. And so they naturally start looking at foreclosures and this is going to be it. But there are some things that go along with it.
There absolutely are. So
everything happens in slow motion.
Everything does happen in slow motion. So this couple said that they walked in the home, they instantly knew they wanted to make an offer. They put the offer in. An hour later, they heard from their agent that there were multiple offers, so they had to submit their highest and best, so they did. And then they waited for 10 days to hear a response.
10 days. Can you imagine? Some people would not sleep for 10 days.
I know, but it's such a normal thing, and I've actually and short sales are a similar thing that we don't need to really get into, but where banks take forever as well. Anyways, so yeah, it's the whole process is you scramble and rush to get everything in for the bank, and then they take their sweet time getting back to you. And the next thing, foreclosures complicate your financing. So this couple, they were lucky they were using conventional loan. However, if you are trying to get a VA or FHA loan through the foreclosure process, through the foreclosure process.
That's a lot of F's to articulate.
You're likely not going to make it work.
So you're going to need a conventional loan, or best of all, cash. So remember, when you're buying a foreclosure, you're buying it from a bank, and the banks are going to want the path of least resistance. So the easiest way to make a sale is a cash sale. Next easiest would most likely be a conventional loan.
Absolutely. And there are, of course, certainly rehab loan options, which we don't need to talk about too much right now, but those are certainly options too. So just something to think about if that is something that you're thinking about doing, but you have to have patience on that front as well, because those also take longer than traditional loans.
And then there are a lot of unknowns. So this is where folks are unsure in the foreclosure process. So they might have been aware of the first 2 things, but they don't know that maybe you can't get the water turned on to test any of the bathrooms to make sure that the plumbing even works in the home, for example.
Or to make sure that the well is functioning, the septic is functioning, and we all know, I don't know if we all know, but we know a septic system costs $20,000. So it's just a huge unknown. And I actually had a really awesome couple that I was working with, I think around the beginning of this year, and they fell in love with this foreclosure property, and we were going to do a rehab loan, but in the end, they found a beautiful house that they didn't have to do a ton of work to, and I think the main things that were worrying them were that there was no way that we could tell if the well or if the septic were any we couldn't tell anything about their condition. And of course the banks don't know because they've never occupied the property.
Exactly.
And that was a potential of $30,000 to $40,000 that would have been on top of any repairs that they would have needed to make to the rest of the house. So it definitely can be a scary thing.
Yeah, in the case of this family, the bank didn't winterize the home because the banks are going to put no money into these properties. They want to get rid of them. So all of the pipes in the home burst. And they're not going to fix that either. So a lot of unknowns to think about.
Absolutely. I was just reading through this too. It says that she and her husband spent 2 long days discussing the unknowns of the property. So it sounds like they were very considerate, and in the end they talked about best case and worst case. Best case, a few thousand. Worst case, 25,000 just to be able to shower and flush toilets. But they did end up going through with it because they felt that that the value of the house would have been worth it. So there's certainly things to consider, like,
Absolutely.
Hey, if I have to do this, am I going to get my money back after? And sometimes it's a really great opportunity for you.
Yeah, and part of that was the fourth point, which is they gathered as much information as they could. So they actually spent a lot of extra money on tests to give them the information that helped make the decisions in the previous point.
Mm-hmm.
So they spent about $2,000 on home inspection, well water test, radon test, a partial septic test, and they felt like it was well worth it because not only did they have a little more peace of mind, but they were able to go to the bank and provide some evidence and ask the bank to contribute some funds towards some necessary repairs. So they only got $5,000 for them, but they were able to negotiate with the bank, which is a challenge to do, but this is the way to effectively do that.
Yeah, and it certainly is sometimes possible to get a little bit of money from the bank in order to facilitate the repairs, but that's just kind of where your agent will come in and try to do the best that they can for you. And you go in with a number and you hope you get it, and sometimes you do, but you just have to decide whether it's going to be worth it if you have to do it all yourself or not.
Yeah, my overall perception in reading this article, this buyer had the funds to pay for all these extra tests
Mm-hmm.
and to do the work to bring the home back. So if you have the cash on hand or the loan ready to do this kind of work, this might be a match for you. So if you're looking for a deal for those reasons, so you can maximize your dollar on those kinds of repairs, could be a match. If you're looking to maximize your dollar because you just don't have a lot of money, this might not be a good fit for you because you won't have a lot of money to put into repairs, and foreclosures in general are going to need something.
Yeah, no matter what, you're going to go into it and you're going to need to put some money into it because nobody lives there, and most of the time the foreclosure process takes 2 to 3 years. So the house has been sitting vacant and empty for 2 to 3 years, and no one has run any of the systems, or
a raccoon could be in the attic gnawing the insulation and gnawing on the electrical wiring, and you're not going to know.
Mold could be growing. You just don't know.
So you need to have cash to deal with it, or need to have a loan to deal with it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, foreclosure might not be the deal that you think it is.
No.
All right. Let's talk inventory. I love it. Our local market.
All right. So Seacoast home for sale inventory grows as sales slow. So September inventory levels of single-family homes and condos reached an annual high as sales volume moderated out in the 13 sample Seacoast towns. So inventory levels were the highest since last September when they also reached an annual high. Single-family sales were up 22% from last year, but we're off 25% from last month.
That kind of makes sense. I think there's a big change between summer and back to school time. I see that every year.
Yep, absolutely. And the monthly median sales price in a 489,950 represents a 9.6% increase from last year. So that's interesting. So I had just done excuse me, sorry, I had to burp. I had just done a market update in a newsletter that I send out to my past clients, and I was talking about average sales rather than median, but median means like in the middle, whereas average is everything added up and then divided by the number of total homes. Anyways, so a 9.6, this was the point that I was getting to, 9.6% increase in sales price from last year. So homes in the Seacoast have gone up almost 10% from last year.
Yeah, and I should point out that this article is specifically Rockingham County. So it's looking Exeter, Greenland, Hampton Falls, Newcastle, Newfields, Newington, Northampton, Newmarket, Portsmouth, Rye, Seabrook, Stratham. A lot of times we also talk Stratford County.
And Stratford County's gone up more than 9.
So we talked about that a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
This particular article is a little bit further south, so it's discussing that. That's why the median sale price is $489. It's a little bit lower in Stratford County. Yes. So no, we didn't just suddenly start multiplying from a few weeks ago. We're talking a little bit different area.
No, but overall, I think that this is some pretty good statistics for our market. We are, we're in a strong market here in the Seacoast, and it sounds as if we're going to continue to move on strong for at least hopefully through the end of the year. Yeah,
we're still up. Median sale price is still up 5.5%. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's in condos.
Yeah, and it, still in a typical market.
Yep, absolutely.
I like to see it.
Absolutely. So, next article.
I love it.
Real estate is still the best investment you can make today, millionaires say, and here is why. So this article is a cool article. It's a CNBC article, and it's some quotes from I think how many 9 or 10 very wealthy people who have spent most of their lives investing in real estate, and it's worked out super well for them.
Yeah, they kicked it off actually with an Andrew Carnegie quote. He said 90% of millionaires got their wealth by investing in real estate. Mm-hmm. So the premise is actually still true. The first person, really attributes a lot of their wealth to real estate.
Yeah, Barbara Corcoran.
In buying that first starter home, or if you're in Manhattan, that first starter studio, selling it as soon as you can, taking those profits, putting it into, let's say, the next size up or the next price range up property, and just continually trading up. You can actually build wealth relatively quickly, way more fast-paced than almost any other investment that you would buy. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, she's a judge on Shark Tank, so.
Yeah, she's a pretty awesome story if you're ever interested in hearing about it. Not you, I mean, just if anybody's interested
too, Dan.
in reading about it.
I'm definitely interested.
She's a really interesting story, how she started the Corcoran Group. And then Bethany Frankel, who is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. She talks about residential properties can generate income year-round. It's always a great thing to have income coming from your real estate investments, and being in it for the long haul, not a quick return.
Yeah, should just make sure you understand all the associated legal fees and prepared for unexpected costs. Like anything, just make that budget and pad it by, a certain percentage so that, you're never caught without, some funds to take care of surprises.
Yep. Grant Cardone, who is a very dynamic personality, likes to buy certain types of properties, generally multifamilies and upscale locations that provide consistent cash flow and great potential for future appreciation. So he's talking about the right investment will continue to appreciate. So that's always a good thing to look for, a property that's going to appreciate.
Yeah, he's one of the ones, that I disagree with. So he prefers not to invest in, single family homes as a strategy. I actually think a single family home in an excellent school district, especially if it's a starter home size, I think that is a fantastic opportunity, especially in the Seacoast area, because we have so few to choose from. I think that you can get a great long-term renter in there, and I think that can be a fantastic source of income. In fact, the article last week was someone in New Hampshire who had done just that very successfully.
Yes.
So, we'll say agree to disagree with Grant on single-family homes, even though he likes the multis.
Yeah. Peter Hernandez, who is president of Western Region Douglas Elliman, said that most millionaires he knows made more money from owning real estate than any other investment. Plus, it isn't as vulnerable to short-term fluctuations as the stock market. So that's always interesting too. That it's a stable asset that you're purchasing.
Yeah, and another top Douglas Elliman agent, Holly Parker, likes the six-figure tax break. So once you've gotten your real estate up to a certain price point, you can really maximize your tax breaks there.
Yeah. Looks like another Douglas Elliman, Dottie Herman, who's the CEO, likes that it doesn't tie up a lot of cash. Real estate's a bankable asset, so you can always leverage it. And you can put down sometimes as little as 5-10%, and then use the bank's money to grow your investment, which is definitely true.
That's something that's really different generationally. So if we had my dad in for a guest spot, when he bought, let's say he bought his first house in the 1970s, interest rates were insanely high. So you want to be putting 20% down, and so having more cash in your home at that point in time was a much better decision. Now with the rates the way they are, it doesn't make sense to have all of that money kind of stuck in your home. So actually it kind of depends where in time you are, but for where we are now in terms of investing, don't stick it all in your house. Buy with as little as you can, and use that money maybe for an additional property.
Yeah.
We got Orange Line Living. He's a broker. This is Daniel Lesniak. He has a team, another real estate guy, and he likes the options that come with real estate. So as opposed to other investments, there are so many different choices. So stocks, bonds, or private offering, you're dependent on things completely outside of your control. You can buy, hold, or sell. That's it. With real estate, you can flip it or you can rent it if the market turns south. If you buy a rental that appreciates, you can sell it. If it's not appreciating, you can rent it. So you have so many more different combinations that you can continue to make money no matter what happens in the market.
Another millionaire talks about people will always need a place to live. So well, that's obviously true that people will always need a place to live. This is Robert Martinez, CEO of Rockstar Capital. So he's talking about market for multifamily apartments in particular is growing, and that's especially true in places like, I think in Oregon, they got rid of single family zoning. So, there is definitely, as people are, people are still renting, even though it's certainly better to own your home than to rent it. People are still doing it, and people really want to get into the investing game actually. So there's definitely lots of opportunity there.
Yeah, and last but not least, you can invest in land that produces income, and one thing that they cannot make more of is land. So there's an inherent demand for it, whether it produces something like coffee or it has an apartment or retail space. So it's always going to be a good investment no matter what kind of business you run. You're going to need land.
True. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you like this episode, please leave us a review. Even though I said that at the beginning, if you watched all the way to the end, that would be really amazing. I wonder how many people we actually have listened all the way to the end.
It's the people that are like tapping us on the shoulder, like, "Oh, I love the episode." Those are the people. So hi, everybody.
Hello to everybody who listened.
We're gonna call them like the full episode crew.
All right. Well, thank you again for tuning in. Have a great week, and we will talk to you next week. This has been Cut to the Chase.
Bye, guys.